Hi guys, welcome to this video on dependency injection using .NET. So I'm going to show you a number of things in this video. To start with what dependency injection is, then why is it useful, and lastly I'm going to show you a real practice on a pizza delivery scenario on how dependency injection can actually help in your code. So if this is your first time in this channel, please subscribe so you don't miss on the future content. Also, when you find this video helpful at the end, please don't forget to like and share with your friends. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So the first thing we have to understand is what dependency injection is, and this is Microsoft Learn documentation. And as we can see here, what they're saying is .NET supports the dependency injection software design pattern, which is a technique for achieving inversion of control between classes and their dependencies. So if you don't know what inversion of control is, it's simply a design principle where we let the object creation and management of our object entirely to the framework or the container. So for this case, .NET will manage the whole life cycle of our object. And a dependency is an object that another object depends on. So let's see an example here. We have a class message writer with this method write, which just displays on the console some message. And here we have a worker class, which extends from this background service. And we are trying to create the object of this class here in the worker class so that we can access this write method. And inside here in this while loop, we are trying to use the method write from the message writer class. So what this code does, it might look good, but what happens is when we have lots of changes, let's say our code is grown and we have to make lots of edits to this message writer, it will affect this worker class, and that's not how our code should be, because we need to have our code as loosely coupled as much as possible. So the fact we have this object created here entirely makes this whole worker class fully dependent on this one, and that is not a better way to write your code because it becomes less maintainable. So as we can see here, now to solve this challenge, you see that they've created an interface called iMessageWriter with this method write. Then they created an implementation class, which is the message writer that inherits from this iMessageWriter interface, and it provides an implementation for the write method. So in our program configuration, what we have to do is we have to declare and specify what that particular dependency implementation is. So as you can see, we are saying that for every dependency that requires iMessageWriter, use the implementation from this MessageWriter class. So I'll show you in the code exactly how that works. So for now, let's see what are the reasons why we should use dependency injection. So I have this this particular blog from cult.honeypot.io, which I found very useful here. So the first importance of dependency injection is that we are going to have a highly extensible code. So with dependency injection, you can actually expand your code at any point in time without having to worry too much. So let's say we had our first code using Gmail service for emailing, and now we want to change to use Outlook service. So you don't have to change your code. All you need to do is just create a new service and reference it in our configuration, and that's all. Also, we're going to have a highly testable code. So this is just also pretty explanatory here, because as long as we have dependency injection, we can always inject different components. Let's say we can inject a database, we can inject a fake API, we can inject a mock service of any sort to test our code. So unit testing becomes much easier with dependency injection. Also, we are going to have a highly reusable code. So the fact that we have our code that is loosely coupled, it makes it easier for reusing code. So also your code becomes highly readable, and that is to the fact that we have all our dependencies in one interface, which has listed all the required dependencies of the project. So it becomes much easier to go through the code, and also your code becomes highly maintainable. The fact that your code is loosely coupled. So here we have our project called Pizza Delivery API, and it's just a web API project. Here we can see we have a program.cs with the configurations. We have the OpenAI added. We have also configured Swagger UI, and we also have the controller, Pizza Delivery controller, and what it does, it's just specifying some few routes for us. The order route, which is a post one for placing orders, and we have this for tracking orders. So as you can see here, we are trying to use this service called in-memory pizza delivery service. And what it does here on our controller, we are creating a new object for this particular service that we use to call these methods. So if we come here and have a look at the service itself, we can see that the service just creates a dictionary and keeps track of the order counter. And then we have these two methods, track order and place order. And what place order does, it's just going to add that particular order to the dictionary, and track order just retrieves what we have in the dictionary. So this is what we have so far, and as you can see, our pizza delivery controller is fully dependent on this class. So any changes to this class will definitely affect our pizza delivery controller, and that's the problem that dependency injection tries to solve. So first thing, let's try to run our code and see first what we have here. So I'll clear my screen and I'll run .NET watch run to run my project with hot reload. So we'll just give it a few minutes for the project to build and start running. So now we can see that our project is already running on port 5030. So I'm going to my browser and I will navigate to port localhost 5030. Then we'll see our Swagger UI, Pizza Delivery API, and we have two endpoints here, one for post and one for get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this. So let's say we ordered a barbecue chicken, and this is our address. So I'll execute this and we'll see that our order has been placed successfully. And if we try to retrieve this order here, we should be able to see that our first order of barbecue chicken, the address is this one, it's now being prepared. So these are the two endpoints that we have. And going back to our code, so now let's say we have changed our service class. Let's say we are going to have a new whole way of implementing this place order and track order, and we are no longer going to use the in-memory pizza delivery service. Rather, let's say we are going to use a third-party service. That's where dependency injection comes in. Actually do is define interfaces. So first thing, I'm going to define an interface and say, let's call this pizza delivery service. So first thing, we've created this pizza delivery service. I'm just going to copy the namespace from here, and I'll create an interface. Then we are going to define these two methods. that are needed for all the delivery services. So one is for place order, and another one is to track the order. So we have this in our code, and you can see now what we are having here is a pizza delivery service, which is an interface. So there is no implementation, and we can have as much number of implementation that inherits from this interface class as we want. So first thing, we are going to make sure our pizza delivery controller. So on our controller right now, instead of using the in-memory pizza delivery service, we are going to use the interface instead. So we'll replace this with the interface, and here it's just going to be like this. So the kind of dependency injection we are going to use here, it's called the constructor injection. So we are going to declare our constructor for the pizza delivery controller, and inside it we will pass in the iPizza delivery service, iPizza delivery service, and we are going to initialize it by declaring the value that's being passed here on our constructor parameter. So just like that, we have dependency injection already in our code. So right now, our pizza delivery controller doesn't know anything related to the implementation of the delivery service. All it knows is this interface, and the interface doesn't provide any particular implementation. So this makes our code loosely coupled, in a sense that we can always inherit from this particular interface. So one way we'll redo it from our initial in-memory pizza delivery service. So for this one, in order to work with our dependency injection, what I'm going to do is I will inherit from iPizza delivery service, and right now this particular class is already inheriting, and we see that it's already providing implementation for the two methods that come from the interface, the track order and the place order. So the next thing we have to do is on our program.cs, we have to specify, and what I'm going to do is I'll write this builder.services.add. You can use n, you can even use a singleton, so I'll use add scoped, and here I'm going to pass in the iPizza delivery service, and I'll say whenever we are having this dependency, just replace it with in-memory pizza delivery service. So for every part where we have iPizza delivery service dependency, use the implementation from in-memory pizza delivery service. So this is just the same way as we had our first code at first, when we are fully relying on in-memory pizza delivery service. The only difference right now is that our program is loosely coupled. The controller doesn't know about the implementation. All it knows is it needs a dependency to be injected for this particular service in order to work with this requirements. So if now we run our code, so I'll just restart my code again, and let's see what happens. So just again, few minutes for the app to rebuild. We can see that our application is fully rebuilt, and if we go to our endpoints, we should be able to see now that we can still make an order. So just let me try here. Let me order a margherita pizza, same address, and we should be able to see that our order is placed successfully. We can also do like multiple orders. You should be able to see that order number 2 is also being placed successfully. So we can see our code still works the same way as how we had it at first. We can also try and check if we have the pizza, and we'll see everything is working perfectly. So the next thing is, now let's say we have a third-party pizza delivery service. Let's say we are not managing the pizza delivery service now. We are using an external API. So how I'm going to do it and how dependency injection makes it easier for me is I'm just going to create a new service. Let's call it third-party pizza delivery service. Delivery service.cs. So this is just going to be entirely the same thing. Now that we have here, we can see that iPizza is missing some implementation. So we are just going to implement the interface, and we are going to implement all the methods. So we'll see that we have to provide implementation for place order and for track order. Just like that, we have our implementation for another third-party service. And now we're no longer going to use the in-memory pizza delivery service. So the only change we need to do here is we haven't touched the pizza delivery controller, and that's a good thing. So you can see how we have actually extended our code base without having to change anything. But now to make this work, we have to come to a program.cs and tell this configuration here that we have that on every iPizza delivery service right now, let's not use the in-memory pizza delivery service implementation. Rather, we use the third-party pizza delivery service. So now if our code reloads, so now if we come to our pizza delivery API Swagger UI, we should be able to now see a different implementation. So now let's try to place an order for barbecue chicken, and the address 123 Main Street. So if I execute this, you should be able to see now that our order is now sent to Pizza Now API. Barbecue chicken will be delivered to that address. So you can see like the old implementation is no longer there, and now we have a whole new implementation. If I try to retrieve the order details, I'll see that my order number 1 is being processed. So this is entirely a whole new implementation for our order tracking and order placement that we didn't have earlier. And the good thing is we haven't made any changes to our pizza delivery service. All we needed to have is this interface that gets some dependency, and we are not creating any objects, as you can see. So all the objects are being created by .NET framework in the background, and it handles everything for us. So that's it for the dependency injection. Let me know what you think about this design pattern. Let me know what you want to see next.